Welcome, wrestling fans. You got the show here at Big Slam Wrestling. We're here to talk about wrestling news of the week. We got news coming across the wire today that officially Prince Devitt has signed his contract with WWE and will begin his NXT training slash debut sometime in the month of August through September, depending on how quickly they can get his work visa put through and get through the red tape involved in those type of things. Also being signed, although it's not been officially announced, unofficially, KENTA will also be making his NXT debut in the midsummer into the fall. Same situation, work visas involved. KENTA as well will be joining the WWE universe in developmental territory of NXT. This is a situation that initially I looked sadly upon as a wrestling fan of both men in the Japans and in the indie scene, and knowing the past problems that WWE has given wrestlers who have come in with big names from the independent scene, and how they seem to tone them down and sanitize their high-flying or more stiff image to recreate them and mold them into their cookie cutter version of WWE wrestling. What I've chosen to do is look at this a different way. Vincent Kennedy McMahon is no longer calling all the shots, especially when it's coming to developmental and new signed contract personnel. Triple H is the man in charge now, along with his wife Stephanie. And we have seen things change in the WWE in the past year, and especially since the end of WrestleMania, which unofficially was Vince McMahon's last major booking, handling of WWE talent. From that point forward, Triple H and his new regime are running the show. Obviously, Vince is going to be a final word on certain things, but not going to be too long down the road here. Within a year or two, I think you're going to see Vince completely retire from the business. That being said, things have changed. We have seen Daniel Bryan become, finally, it was an 8-month build, which, you know what, that's also storyline. And as much as people hated how it was being done, I still think some dirty shenanigans were being pulled with Daniel Bryan. He is the world champion for right now. CM Punk, through many years, worked his way up and was very successful and broke that glass ceiling in the WWE. Other wrestlers have had similar success, some not so much. You had guys like a Chris Hero, who came in with Claudio Castagnoli as Cassius Ohno and Antonio Cesaro. Obviously, you are familiar with Cesaro, and you're probably not too familiar with Cassius Ohno because Chris Hero was thrown out of developmental for not being cooperative with Triple H and how they wanted him to perform. These two gentlemen were one of the greatest tag teams in the wrestling industry at the time of their signing. And it was kind of mind-blowing to most that even in the developmental area, they didn't put the two together to allow the Kings of Wrestling to continue to be tag team wrestlers. But that's where it comes down to the problems with them redeveloping talent. So it is a concern for what they'll do with a Prince Devitt, what they'll do with a KENTA. KENTA's a very hard-hitting, stiff, high-flying, risk-taking wrestler that was a major influence not only on CM Punk but also on Daniel Bryan, formerly Bryan Danielson, another one who had his name changed, his wrestling style calmed down. But many of their particular major movesets were borrowed, per se, from KENTA. The go to sleep. Bryan Danielson's finisher, as of right now, with that knee blow, all KENTA, along with a lot of other stuff you'll see if you check them out on YouTube. You'll see what I'm talking about. Now, with KENTA, they had brought back Sakamoto. Kaz Sakamoto, you may recall, he was in NXT for a while, and he was Tensai's handler in the WWE. He was a complete jobber in NXT and not given any kind of push whatsoever. But he has been brought back ahead of time, and that was where we pretty much knew that KENTA was coming through, because he is going to be KENTA's translator and help him to adapt to the NXT WWE ring style in a quicker fashion. In other news, we have this week two major surgeries of superstars. Daniel Bryan underwent serious neck surgery, which came out successful, but the champ will be on the shelf for minimum of 3 months before he'll be able to get back in the ring. Question on everyone's mind now is, are they going to strip him of the title? Tradition says it's a 30-day window you had to defend your title, or you're stripped of it. Now, that has been altered and changed different times and different federations for different wrestlers. Can they do this with Daniel Bryan? Yes, they can. Will they, is the question, or will they strip Bryan of the title, screwing him once again? My opinion is Daniel Bryan will have the title stripped from him. They will hold a tournament, whether it be a one night or over a period of a couple weeks, to determine the new champion for the WWE. Who that champion will be is up in the air. I would have said before that it would be Batista, but he's already made it look to see that he's leaving and not going to hang out long enough to hold that belt. Now, he could hold it long enough until Daniel Bryan came back, and being that he does not have to wrestle Bryan now, which was his problem because he did not want to have to put Bryan over, maybe they'll get Dave to sign on and become that champion. Other wrestler that had his major surgery this week was the Olympic champion Kurt Angle in TNA. Had a torn ACL. His surgery also was successful, and he is going to be out anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Now, what this is going to do is officially run out his contract with Total Nonstop Action Impact Wrestling. I do not believe, along with many others in the industry, that Kurt Angle will not be re-signing with TNA, and for all intents and purposes will return to the WWE on a final run. He'll be able to come back in probably around Royal Rumble time, get involved. I would love to see him go up against for his last WrestleMania moment. It'd be a hell of a match, and be able to finish a feud from many years past is to have Kurt Angle go up against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Let me know what you think about that down below, along with everything else I'm talking about here today. This also will leave Kurt Angle being able to have a nice 3-disc DVD set, which we've been dying to have forever, to get all his greatest matches put out there for us to have. He will certainly, being as articulate as he is on the mic, will fit in well with the roundtable discussions and the pre-show teams for the pay-per-views and the like, if that's how they want to start him out as he's recovering from his surgery. That way not have to go in the ring right away, but they can get him out there and back in front of the WWE Universe. That would be a smart move on my part if I was booking that, and that way you could have him getting into it with Paul Heyman, former manager of himself, and Brock Lesnar. You got him being able to go up again. He can start off in a feud with Jack Swagger, Cesaro. You name any of the youngsters out there, he's going to do it, and he's going to put guys over, because that's what Kurt does. Kurt is outstanding, and he's, in my opinion, the greatest professional wrestler of this generation, possibly of all time. I say wrestler, not entertainer, but even on that aspect of it, if you go back and check out a lot of the stuff from Kurt back in the WWE, he can be a funny sumbitch on the mic, and he's a good talker, and he's just one of the best. You can't deny that with him. Speaking also on TNA news, we had Kazarian. Frankie Kazarian's contract ended, and he is no longer with the company. So himself and Daniel Bryan, Bad Influence, are out and about on the independent scene, looking to do some dates in Japan. Ring of Honor apparently is also being talked about. Jeff Jarrett's Global Force Wrestling is out there for him to be part of. Obviously, I would not expect neither one of these guys to make it into the WWE, as they're too old and not the type of guys that WWE would be looking for at this time. If they didn't take AJ Styles, they're certainly not going to take Bad Influence. TNA also lost Chris Sabin, not to forget about that as well. Chris will do very well on the independent scene, and whether he goes into New Japan or Global Force himself, don't know, but we wish all these gentlemen success. And it's going to be a good year for the independents and for the wrestling fans out there to be able to see all these guys up close, a little more personal in the smaller arenas, and be able to see them actually put everything they got out there. Because when you wrestle for TNA or WWE, they kind of hold you back a little bit. They don't let these guys perform to their utmost. And when they're out there now on the indie scene, them guys are going to put it all on the line to show everybody what it is exactly they got, to prove that they're still number one in the game. Some long-term contracts have been signed in TNA. Newcomer Tom Latimer, formerly NXT from the Ascension. Connor, I believe his name was when he was in NXT. He is now going under the name of Brahm, working a program with Magnus. Fantastic wrestler, excellent on the mic. I'm expecting big things from him, and them signing him to a multi-year contract, obviously they see some great potential in him as well. Cowboy James Storm signed his long-term contract along with Robbie E. Bobby Roode's contract is not up yet, and it's to be understood he will be signing a long-term contract as well. We also had a major change in TNA as MVP made a heel turn, taking out EY Eric Young, and at the end of last night's Impact became part of a new faction. It's MVP, the King of the Night, Kenny King, and the boss, Bobby Lashley, as the new heel team in TNA. I have to see what happens next week. TNA put on one hell of an Impact show last night, the best show of the year so far. I was very pleased in 95% of that card. The only problem I had with that episode was some of the shenanigans with the menagerie, but we'll leave that to another time. Point being is this: they had their promos and their vignettes and their wrestling action all compounded down perfectly last night. It was not too much of one and not enough of another. We had all kinds of great action, great matches, and well-filmed promos and vignettes. This upcoming weekend, Saturday night, we got Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling's co-promotion War of the Worlds. Looking forward to that, as last week's Global Wars was off the chart. And I just know that in New York City at the Hammerstein Ballroom, they're going to put it all out there, and they're going to have what probably could be the pay-per-view of the year. The main event we had was AJ Styles, the IWGP champion, going up against Unbreakable Michael Elgin. And apparently it seems Cedric Alexander was injured, and he was supposed to be wrestling the Rainmaker Okada. So the talk now is, and it's not been made official yet, but we may have a three-way dance for the IWGP title. And that would be simply phenomenal. All puns intended. AJ Styles, Michael Elgin, and Okada together in the ring at the same time. Please, you're talking match of the year right there, brother. And on top of that, we will have the Ring of Honor tag titles being defended by the Young Bucks. It'll be a super kick party in New York City as they go up against Red Dragon, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish. Two of the greatest tag teams in the wrestling business today. Now I'm going to get back and touch in again on Prince Devitt. I'm going to go into this with some positivity of the glass half full. Rumors have abounded for some time that when the new network was at the time a cable channel, Triple H and Stephanie were all about signing high flyers and cruiserweights across the world. They were looking to make a cruiserweight division television show that would be its own division with its own title, its own tag titles. It would have been an hour show, and that kind of fell to the wayside as they had problems getting that off the ground with the network. And Vince, being Vince, is not real big on small guys. Well, now the times have changed and the network is its own animal now. And Vince has stepped aside. Triple H and Stephanie are continuously now back talking about pushing, moving NXT to a higher level, and having this new cruiserweight division show debut on the network. This would be something that would be, in my opinion, a fantastic move for the WWE. You're always criticized for not having high flyers, for not being able to compete with the indies and TNA and Ring of Honor and New Japan and others in that type of wrestling. And as we can see, Triple H and the network are trying to create their own bubble, their own wrestling world, incorporating everything under their umbrella. Whether it be an indie style wrestling of NXT, where anything you want for wrestling, all you got to do is come to the network and not go and bother to see anything else out there in the world. Anything beyond the universe is Bush League. You want the good stuff, you come to the network. Look at the Cruiserweight division that they have on their line right now as we speak. If they started it tomorrow, you got Adrian Neville, formerly known as Pac, the man that gravity forgot. You got Sami Zayn, former El Generico. You got Solomon Crow, the former Sami Callihan. You have the greatly underutilized, one of the greatest high flyers and wrestlers in the business that does not get used here in the States at all. One, Justin Gabriel. You got Evan Bourne. You got Corey Graves. We got Kalisto, Tyson Kidd, Tyler Breeze, Sin Cara. And then you're going to have Prince Devitt coming in along with Kenta and Sakamoto. Right there alone, you have enough talent to do a 1-hour show on the network spotlighting the Cruiserweight division. To me, that will blow up and be a huge hit for the WWE and will bring in fans.